What's up, people? Welcome to this episode of the By the Hood podcast or webcast because I don't know how you're consuming this content. I'm your host, as always. My name is Jimmy. And as we start off every episode, that's by showing gratitude. Just want to say thank you to anyone and everyone who supports anything that we do here at By the Hood. Special shout out to all the students at By the Hood University, as well as the youth from the By the Hood ownership camp. Shout out to all you guys. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Corey. Corey, what's up, good brother?
What's going on? How's everything with everybody, man? Every day above ground's a good day. Happy to be alive, and happy, with everything that's going on in the world to be, able to do the things that I'm able to do.
Absolutely, man. With that being said, everyone knows that our platform is designed to highlight brothers and sisters who are doing amazing work in the community, building businesses, and just putting out positive energy. And this guest that we have with us now, this brother is an author. This brother's an entrepreneur. He's a philanthropist. We got to talk about that as well. And, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce the brother Nahjee Grant here. Nahjee, how are you, good brother?
I'm good. I appreciate you guys for having me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. So listen, man, let's get right into it, man. You do a lot of things, man. You do a lot of things in the community, which are all positive. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you for the work that you do. Before we even get started, I just want to say thank you. But let's talk about your background, though. Can you tell us where you're from, how you were raised?
Sure. I mean, I'm from Lower Merion, which is like 5 minutes from West Philadelphia, and middle class, lower middle class neighborhood from Ardmore, Pennsylvania. Lower Merion is predominantly a white township. But there's a small section, a couple of small sections of Black and brown communities. And I'm from South Ardmore, which is a pretty unique neighborhood within Lower Merion. But yeah, that's where I'm from. When I went to Lower Merion School District, elementary, middle, and high school, home of the late Kobe Bryant.
I was going to say, all you have to say is I'm from where Kobe's from. Because once you say Lower Merion, that's the first thing that everybody says. Oh, Kobe.
That's right. He was my first idol.
So, with that being said, what was it like in your education out there? Did you go to college after Lower Merion, or how was your journey? How'd you start your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I had a particularly rough time when I was in middle school, leading into high school in Lower Merion. Like 7th to 9th grade, didn't do particularly well in my education. I actually failed my 9th grade year at Lower Merion. I had to redo it half the following year. But due to the me having to play catch up for 4 years because I didn't do well in 9th grade, I went to community college for a year and also to Villanova part-time studies for a year in business. And then,
okay.
Actually, it was a class that I was taking at Montgomery County Community College, and like a late night course, and I got a flyer, that I seen that they were having like an education symposium where all the school districts in Montgomery County were going to come to Montgomery County Community College and talk about all these different issues on education. And for some reason, it interested me. And, I went on a Saturday morning and, I saw then who was the keynote speaker was Mark Lamont Hill.
Okay.
From Philadelphia. He was the keynote speaker and he had a book out and he was doing a book signing. And that year, this is back in like 2009, 2010, I had an idea for writing a book. But I never really put it together, materialized it. And once I saw him and what he was doing, he had to capture the crowd. He was having a keynote speaker. He was keynote speaker. He had a book signing. He had a line going down the hall. And it was that day actually that I seen the vision that I had for myself and what I wanted to do. And actually, I never went back to school after that day. And I started following my passion on writing books. And here we are 10 years later. 15 books later.
What was it about what was it about the brother Mark Lamont Hill that inspired you? Was it something that he said, or was it just like his aura? Was it like, what someone that looked like you doing this? What was it about him that inspired you to go on your journey?
Yeah, it was really, I guess the aura. I mean, the fact that he looked like me. right? Like, it's like 10 years ago. So I'm not sure. I think he's like 10 years older than me, but, again, it was just the way he presented himself. Just the fact that he was out there, just doing it. Again, it was an idea for me. I took a class for writing short stories when I was and I was a senior in high school. So I had an interest in writing short stories. But again, it was just the fact that I seen somebody who looked like me. I mean, he's like short, like he's like the same, same height as me, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I just seen it, and I said, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it. And I didn't get to meet him that day, but it didn't matter. The fact that I saw him and I saw the vision, and again, I never went back.
No, that's dope though. I mean, that's proof that representation matters. When you see people that look like you doing amazing things, it kind of inspires you. So, shout out to Mark Lamont Hill for that.
Right.
So at this point, you've written 15 books.
Yes, 15 children's books, correct.
Sheesh, man, that's a lot of work right there, man.
Yeah, right. My man put in work.
So when you got into that, what was your ultimate goal in creating children's books? What was your goal? Like, what were you trying to accomplish? When you started to create children's books.
That's a good question. Thank you. Well, the goal I had originally was just one book. It was just one story that I had in mind. In the first book, my dad, he passed away actually as when I started writing the first book, unfortunately. But ever since I was 2-3 years old, like he was very, very inspirational to me as far as inspiring me that I was like, much more than the average person. Like he was always on that, you're a king, we're from royalty. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you are your ancestors chosen one to do these things. And I'm like, what? I'm like 4 years old. Like, what are you talking about? So I had an idea to incorporate these messages that he was instilling into me into a children's book. And, ever since when I graduated high school, and I just wanted to, instill these messages into a younger audience, now that I'm older, and I incorporated a lot of things that he used to say to me when I was younger. So that was my idea for the first book. And then it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling year after year. And I you look up and you go, geez, 15 later, like, just kept rolling with them.
That's man, you said something right there that it actually resonated with me because me and Corey talk about this. I kind of was raised in a similar situation where like my grandmother, father, they always poured into me and told me how great I was. And I would have friends from my neighborhood. And you hear it in rap songs, like teachers always told me I would never amount to nothing. I'm like, my teachers told me I was going to be great. Like I never had that issue.
Yeah, man.
But I also recognize the importance of pouring into the youth and telling them, so that's very important work that you do. I know Corey, you can speak about that too.
Man, yeah, like my grandmother, same way, actually my whole entire tribe, my family, the people around me poured into me. No one ever told me I couldn't do anything. Like as long as, even when it was unrealistic, as long as I was showing the effort, they was behind me. Like, you go ahead, baby. You could, you know what I mean? Like even the most unrealistic thing. Like I thought I was going to be like a baseball playing astronaut. Like, and they was like, okay, if you can figure out a way to do it, we'll figure out a way to help you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I think, that's important.
Yeah, so I think that's dope that you do that. Another thing I want to talk about in terms of the work you do, I know that you've done a lot of philanthropy and you've worked with food security as well, right? So you've written these children's books, but you do a lot of community work, and one of the things you focus on is food security. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I had I'm going to answer one of your questions later about this, what the start of this, but I had an interest ever since like 2 years out of high school on community organizing and getting very, very involved in my neighborhood and community issues. And I started hosting book drives, food drives, sock drives, clothing. Every from the libraries to the ambulance, working with the fire department, working with the churches. And, we have an annual backpack drive that we're in our 8th year now. but we also did an annual Thanksgiving drive for people who are, who may need food for Thanksgiving and the holidays. And whether that's a whole meal, whether that's a whole turkey, we do that here in Ardmore and Lower Merion, also with a partner organization in the city as well.
Oh man. So where did that come from? Where did that mindset come from to be community oriented and also just to give back to your people? Where did that come from?
Yeah. So I don't know. No, no.
I mean, was it something that was instilled in you from your father, your parents, or
No,
was
I know.
that was
Well, I'm
taught to you?
joking. Right. So I'm joking. So the biggest inspiration for me outside of my parents was after high school was Barack Obama. So I read. I graduated high school the year before he won in 2008, and I got very, very wrapped up in the aurora of his campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And again, same thing with Mark Lamont Hill, seeing someone that looks like you doing what you want to do. I went to the library and I read I think it was Dreams from My Father.
Okay.
Barack Obama, and changed everything for me. I mean, I just seen, again, he's talking about community organizing, his background, the good, the bad, the ugly, relationship with his family, his father, etc. And I said, you know what, I'm already like to do community work, but I really aligned his path to the things that I wanted to do, and that's when I really started getting really involved in community work and philanthropy work in the community.
I mean, that's interesting because that's just another story, like you said, representation matters. So when you see people that look like you doing things, it gives you,
Right.
kind of the courage or the feeling that you can do it. So another amazing story. So now we talked about the fact that you have 15 books available. You also do a lot of community work in terms of, food security as well as other things. But you also partner with school districts as well to try to bridge the gap between civics as well as the community. And so you're kind of focused a lot on community work, right?
With the school districts?
Yeah. Like I've read that you've done work with them as well.
Yeah, I was losing you for a sec. I'm hearing you. My work with the school districts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so earlier in my work, I guess maybe like 4 or 5 books in, and I was just learning to get involved with the school districts. I do author visits and story times and book readings, and, book signings and that nature all over the mainline area, all over the tri-state area. And after I think our 5th book, we started doing developing curriculum. So now we have storybook-based curriculum for kindergarten through 12th grade, and we do programs in school and after-school programs with school districts on a wide range of different issues that are all incorporated into my books. For the school districts.
Oh, that's dope. So let me ask you this question, right? So you talked about your journey of starting in Ardmore. You talked about the setback with 9th grade. Is that your biggest hurdle from where you started to get you where you are today, or what's another hurdle that you had to overcome? Because now, you have your business, you have your books, and you have your mission in terms of your community work. What's the biggest hurdle you had to overcome?
Well, yeah, 9th grade, 9th grade was a hurdle, but everything is more mental than anything. Like today, I don't know if I believe I shared it. So we had the 15 books, the community work, with the nonprofit, etc. But I'm here I own 2 stores as well here in Ardmore and in Bryn Mawr, and I'm here at one of them in the clothing store now, and it's all mental. I mean, there's nothing that, again, to your point earlier, Corey mentioned that just to believe in yourself. I didn't have
real quick though, when you say it's mental, so the hurdles themselves are mental. And when you say it's mental, kind of go into that. What do you mean by it's mental?
It's all mental as far as the ability, and as far as the invisible roadblocks that people set for themselves, and especially I think for myself. that once I get out of my own head and realize that when I wake up in the morning, I am the CEO of my life and I can do whatever I want, good, bad, or indifferent, it's more of a mental thing than anything. There's no one at all in this world that can stop me unless, I feel like stopping myself. And again, that's the mental challenge. I had an idea during the first lockdown last spring to open an event space and a clothing store. And I did both, and I opened both of them within 3 months of each other. And it just took the mental capacity to say that this is what I want to do. I had the idea. I'm going to execute on it, no matter who says what. And that's how I operate. So it's more of the mental challenges, the mental roadblocks, in order to get where you want to go.
Okay, that's dope. That's dope. So once you say you're going to do something, you make your mind up and you go do it.
Plain and simple.
I heard that. So let me ask you this question. Along this journey, so books seem to be a big part of your life. You talked about books that you've read that inspired you, in terms of Barack Obama, as well as you being an author yourself. What is your favorite book, or outside of the Barack Obama, or something that's inspired you along this journey, to get you where you are? You don't have to name one. You can give us a couple of your favorite books that have helped you.
Yeah. So, one of my favorite books, I post it all the time online, and someone who's also their favorite book, they're like, stop giving away all the secrets, joking around. So the Go-Giver is actually one of my favorite books. And I know a couple people who are very, very successful in business who also feel the same way. It's not a book that's very publicized in social media as far as like books that everyone needs to read, but The Go-Giver was definitely a book for me that changed a lot about my perception of giving back and karma and business principles.
I never read that book. The Go-Giver.
Yeah, it's called The Go-Giver, not the Go-Getter. Everyone wants to be a go-getter and get the bag and all that stuff. Okay. So it's called The Go-Giver.
Ah, interesting. I got to get that one. I'm on that ASAP core. The Go-Giver. Okay, I like that.
He just gave us new reading material.
Yeah, pretty much. The Go-Giver. Okay.
Yeah, so that book, that's a good one. And there's another book. It's oh good Lord, it's eluding me the name. As a Man Thinketh.
As a Man Thinketh. I've read that one though.
Everybody, yeah, let me read that book. Well, I've read that book before The Go-Giver, but both of those books changed my mindset, 360. Very inspirational. I mean, the book's like 100 years old, and everything in it still rings true today. So those two books definitely.
Okay, that's dope. That's dope. So have you always been like a big reader, or something came later in life, or you always been a big reader?
Always been a big reader. I mean, my aunt was a librarian for 30 plus years, so I grew up in a library.
Okay.
I had a short, like I said, seventh to ninth grade, kind of straight off, and wasn't doing any reading, wasn't doing any homework, no anything. But then I came back, to it. But yeah, it's always been a big reader.
Okay, that's dope. That's dope. So, Cora, before I ask a couple more questions, you got any questions you want to ask for the brother specifically?
Dude, one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, in the process of doing all of the work and doing all of the writing that you're doing, have you, what's the thing that that inspired you the most from the people that you've met? Like, you said that you were, talking with Dr. Lamont. But besides that, like when you're out doing the things that you're doing, what inspires you about the work that you do?
Yeah, that's a good question, considering the times we're living in. There's a lot of craziness in the world. How do you still find the inspiration?
Well, that's a very good question. So I'll give you a perfect example. The last book that the book that I published in January is a book called Aaron and the Police Get Back to the Community. And it's a short children's book on community policing and relationship building between the community and the police. And again, I had the idea for that 5 years ago, But I really brought the idea back when everything that happened around the George Floyd incident last year, and everything when the world is going crazy. I found myself saying, like, where's the common ground? How can I create something positive where we're not talking negatively about either side, but how do we come together? And so to your point, I created a children's book, an inspirational children's book about community policing, where actually like the title character sees what's going on in the world, sees protests, but says to himself, how do I give back? How do I find some positive in here and work with the police in order to do better for the community? And so that's what I try to do. Is I try to find the middle ground, little piece of positivity in what's going on in the world, and shine a light on that through a positive story.
Okay, that's a good one. So, do you find like framing, like some of your work in children's books like helps? What I mean by that is like you're touching complex issues, but you're telling them through stories made for children, right? And I always find this interesting when I sometimes they're able to touch on certain topics with cartoons that you might not be able to. So using that medium, I guess what I'm trying to ask is using that medium, do you think that it's easier to tackle like, complex issues such as policing in the community?
It was hard. I thought that book was going to be easier when I first started it than it ended up to be. Because you do have to, you're dealing with kids. You're not dealing with, with adults. So you do have to be mindful of the audience. I do think that I don't know if it's easier because I don't normally write for adults. I have one book honestly that is for teenagers and up. It's an autobiography that I did a couple of years ago on my experience when I was in school. But other than that, again, I can't share the difference between being, between kids. But however, it's not as easy as people may think it is. Got you. Again, dealing with kids, and because remember, kids also or children don't buy books; the parents do. So you're not just working with them. You're also have parents or guardians or organizations buy into the messages that you're trying to get across to the kids as well.
Great point. Yeah. Great point. You have something else, Corey?
Nah, he's the inspirational. Like he's going right to the source. Like you know how I feel. Like when you want to build and you want to build correctly, you got to start with the children.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you a question, Nahjee, man. Thank you for sharing your story with our audience. What is the future like for yourself, for your business? What do you see yourself doing? You talked about new businesses that you just embarked on in terms of a clothing store, an event space. So you have a lot on your plate. What's the future hold for you?
Well, I don't know if it's a lot. It's just,
Listen, to an average person, that's a lot. To you, it may not seem a lot, but you've written 15 books. You're out here doing work in the streets. You got an event space as well as a store. You got to, pat yourself on the back, brother.
I appreciate you. I will. I appreciate you. It's just how I am. I don't gloat or anything. I appreciate it. But no, again, like I said, we just opened up the event space with my business partner Janae, and we love the direction that it's going in with all the creators and small businesses that want to use the space. Because again, everybody that was we were all inside all last year. A lot of people want to be out and about, even if it's not in a big setting, but in a nice medium-sized setting for the space that we have. So we love the progress to see where the space is going in the future. In the same way with our clothing store, we primarily have Black and Hispanic artists and designers in our store because there wasn't a place for them to have anything. Because they go to a store, they normally get turned down. But when we have our own store, we can do whatever we want. So, so that's the whole point in the vision for both of these stores, and just growing our nonprofit, expanding beyond tri-state area. We need to expand, nationally, globally, and extend our message and our reach as far as we can.
Man, that's powerful stuff, man. So I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you for sharing your story with our audience.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for everybody listening or watching, in the show notes as well as the description, you'll find Nahjee's social media contacts as well as his website. Please take a look at what this brother's got going on. Because he's out here doing the work. He's doing the work for the community, but he's also building businesses. So you're actually out here living the go-giver lifestyle, right?
That's right.
You know what I mean? You're giving it away.
It's a hidden gem. It's a hidden gem book. I've spoken to. I mean, I personally know, I guess humbly, a couple of very, very successful, businessmen and women. And when I asked them, like, what book do you read? And they all said The Go-Giver. And I'm like, okay, I'm reading on it. And when I did, I'm like, I see why. So,
I'm getting that today because you whoever wrote the book, they owe you a check because you sold it. You sold me. I'm buying it today. So, I've been sold.
Right.
But, what I find interesting is this, though. Last, I want to end with this is that, your work with philanthropy. Because a lot of times I talk to people like, in the real estate or even a crypto space who are successful, and they have this feeling that they have to hit a certain number before they can start to give back. And I think that's the wrong approach. You can give back on your way to building. And in fact, I believe as you give back on your way to building, you'll get more blessings anyway.
Trust me. Yes. So I learned that actually. I mean, I didn't, we mentioned it, but you always hear that, right? You always hear, I need to make I need to make 50,000 a year. I need to be a millionaire and then give back. And I always, from the beginning, did it in synchronous with each other. We do a backpack event and then open a business, right? Then we go to book drive and then it's always in sync with each other, hand in hand. And years ago, I read an article where President Bill Clinton mentioned that in an article, and where again people think they need to give back when you make a lot of money, but I'm telling you, the blessings will come back to you tenfold if you do it hand in hand. And I took that to heart years ago. I remember it, and I did. And that's what we do.
I get a quick secret. Like, you can change someone's life and it won't even cost you that much money. One of the things that my wife and I started doing a couple of years ago is when we find like a kid in our community that we're going to college, we would just pay for their books for the first semester. And right. it might cost you a couple $100, but that changes someone. Because I remember going to school and that was a burden for me. Like, you get your tuition paid and then you get hit with the prices of books. You know what I mean? And you're like, whoa, this ain't part of my tuition. Like, no, you know what I mean? Right. So my point is, you can do small things along your journey that can make a big difference in someone else's life. And you're doing the work. So I just want to salute you and say thank you, because our community needs more people like you, good brother.
And likewise, I always appreciate what you guys are doing and wanted to reach back out and see if you guys wanted to. Yeah, absolutely. Always, man. It's all love. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. All right. So for our audience out there, make sure you please check out what Nahjee has going on. Support him. If you have any organizations or people that need these books, take a look at all his books because, they're written for our youth and they're all positive. He's doing positive work. So we want to make sure that we support this brother because we got to support. People spend a lot of time talking about what they don't like, but when you find people doing the work, we have to support them. You know what I mean?
I was just about to say that. Like, yeah, like let's go support the people we do like and talk less about the people we don't like. Give them less light.
Exactly. So we're going to support you, Nahjee, our community. We're going to support you. So as we always say, it's not about how much money you make. It's about how much you keep. Game elevates, and we'll see you guys in our next episode. Peace.